We are now in the month of March, and if you're wondering what's happening here in the real estate market, specifically in the Fraser Valley, well, you've come to the right video. And in this video, I want to share with you a couple key things. One being just the overall market, what's happening here, what's going on. Second is more specifically when it comes to the houses, the townhomes, and the condos, what's happening in each of those segments. And then lastly, if you're thinking about buying or selling, I want to give you my 2 cents. Use what you want with that. And then at the very end, I want to show you 2 real estate tools that I've been working with and I've developed actually for quite some time that I think are super handy and useful when it comes to the real estate market. And so first thing I want to talk about, let's get back to it, is the overall market. What's happening here? And so right now, we're looking at this benchmark home price graph here for all residential. So that includes the detached market, which is houses, the attached market, which is townhomes, and then the other market, which is condos. And as you can see here, the graphs or the line graphs, red being this year. And so what you can see is over the past 2 years, we've seen a substantial decrease in price. There's no hiding that. That's what's going on here. And so from January to February, we've seen something similar happen. Again, no surprise. And then we get to the new listings here. And to me, nothing's out of the normal here. Obviously, when we looked at prices, we're substantially lower than we were before. But when it comes to new listings this time of year, typically this is what we see. And so there's nothing out of the norm when it comes to new listings. Now, inventory is the other one that's been interesting. As when we see 2024 to 2025 and now to 2026, every single year we've seen more total inventory on the market. And that's really just to do with a lot of homes sitting in the market. They're not selling. Days on market is on some homes is becoming almost on a yearly basis, which is kind of crazy to say. And so we have more inventory, similar amount of new listings, prices are declining. And then the next graph I want to talk about is these sales, total sales that's happening here. And as you can see, the last 2 years, it's kind of gone up, gone down, and then gone up. And that's really the annual cycle of sales. If you think about it, most people want to move during the spring and during the end of summer before winter hits. And it's the psychology behind it. It's kind of interesting, very interesting actually, or at least I find it interesting. But as we can see here, January, February, we saw a 36% increase in sales. Now, one would think that's great. That's amazing. There's more activity happening. Well, it happens every year. And so there's nothing to get too excited about. And then I want to show you this graph here where it's the sales to active listings ratio. It really gives you an idea of like, are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? Are we in a balanced market as per the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board's, stats? And so right now, February month end, sitting at 10%. So what does that mean actually? Maybe you've heard this number before. Basically, it means for all the homes out there that are active, 10% of them sell. And so if you had 100 homes on the market, well, 10 of them sell last month. And what we see here, again, what the real estate board says is anything below 12% is a buyer's market, meaning there's a lot more inventory for the buyers that are out there. 12 to 20, they're calling a balanced market. And then when it comes to the seller's market, it's 20% or above. And so that means there's a lot more buyers wanting to buy product out there than there are listings. So just keep that in mind as we continue on here. Now, the second graph I want to show you just before we get into talking about the homes, the townhomes, and the condos is this benchmark home prices here in the Fraser Valley. And it's always interesting to see this graph just from a really bird's eye view. Like we're talking 20 years or 25 years, 20 years. 20 years ago, you can kind of just see how prices have gone. And as you can see here, and I've been saying this for quite some time, is that prices have been on a slow decline ever since 2023. And you can see that in the data here. We have the huge bump from COVID, then we come down, kind of overcorrects, and then goes back up. And the last 3 years have really been on a steady decline. And then when we look at the last, 6 months to a year, all markets really start to slide downwards. And so now that we've gone over all of that information, bird's eye view stuff, I want to get more granular on what's happening here between different segments. And so the first segment I want to talk about is the residential detached, which is just a fancy word for saying houses. And so as we can see here, over the last 2 years, prices have been, up and down quite a bit there. But it wasn't until the end of 2025 when we saw more prices or more decline in prices. And now when we're sitting here in 2026, prices have gone up, but it's it's minimal in this case. But that's essentially what's happening here in the residential detached market. Now moving on to residential attached, which essentially is townhomes or row homes. And as we can see here, prices fell from January to February. And basically they've been falling ever since 2023. I know I don't have it on the graph here, but ever since 2023, when we look at the bigger picture, prices have been falling, and it's not really a surprise. Sales did come up, active listings did come up, sales to active listings ratio came up, and results of both those coming up. So there's really no big surprise happening here. This is typically what happens. Again, when we looked at the all residential types, it was following the exact same trend, except prices. Prices were the only thing that were declining, and so no big surprise happening here. Condo market, similar thing. Prices have been on a slight decline ever since 2023. Prices did come up here. Now, again, this is medium home price, so maybe a whole bunch of more homes in the condo segment sold at a higher price point, which could push the medium home price up. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens in March. But again, sales are up, active listings are up, and the sales to active listings ratio are up, which again translates to exactly what's happening again across the board. So no big surprise there. Now, before we get into what this all means for you when it comes to buying and selling, and then those two real estate tools, I just want to show you what the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board is saying and just maybe make some comments on it. Fraser Valley market shows early bloom with February sales lift. The Fraser Valley market shows early signs of spring thaw in February, with sales increasing over January, but continuing a trail typical levels for this time of year. We've seen that. The Fraser Valley Real Estate Board recorded 843 sales in February, a 36% increase, but a 38% below the 10-year seasonal average. New listings declined 9% in February, suggesting some sellers are choosing to wait amid competitive inventory levels and maybe positioning their homes for the peak of the spring market. Now, we do see that happen quite often. And again, if we were to go back into the data here, you would see that most new inventory hits the market around the springtime. So again, there's nothing out of the ordinary happening here. Buyer-friendly conditions continue to define the Fraser Valley market. So the chair there, we did see a welcome bump in sales over January. They remain well below seasonal average with ample inventory and soft prices. This window may prove to be the key buying opportunity, particularly as prices settle. As we move closer to the spring, we're hopeful that improved economic stability will encourage more buyers to re-enter the market. And when we look at just like data over the last, how many years, quite a few years, there's always just more activity come the spring. Now, the question is, yes, how much more activity is going to be happening? How many more sellers are going to want to put their home on the market? How many more buyers are going to want to go out there? And so nobody knows. We're all just kind of hedging our bets that it's going to be more activity because seasonally or on a year-to-year basis, that's just what happens. Overall inventory remains above seasonal norms in the Fraser Valley. Again, we've seen that in the data there. More active listings, up 8%, and 51% above the 10-year seasonal average. And so we've seen a lot of inventory on the market for a long time. The Fraser Valley really remains firmly in a buyer's market with the overall sales to active listings ratio at 10%. A balanced market is typically defined between ratios of 12 and 20. We talked about that before as well. Across Fraser Valley, in February, average number of days to sell a single-family detached home was 47 days. Well, for a condo, it was 45. Townhomes took an average of 39 days to sell. Many households are in a holding pattern right now. I would agree. Waiting for clearer signs that the economy is finding its footing. Elevated economic uncertainty over the past year has cast a shadow over families. Big financial decisions, including buying and selling a home, which that's totally fair. In times like these, professional, here we go, just selling us realtors here. So that's essentially what they're saying here. Some of it, I would say most of it I would agree with. Now, with all of that said, what does this actually mean to you? We've gone over a bunch of information. So I want to get more specific. If you're thinking about buying, this segment is for you. And so right now, new listings will continue to hit the market. With most certainty, looking at all the data from previous years and what's happening now is that more listings will hit the market here. And so if you're worried or you don't like what's out there, don't worry, more is going to happen. But with that more happening, increased activity is also coming, right? We're going to have more sellers wanting to sell their house in the springtime. We're going to have more buyers thinking, hey, now's the good time to do this, or now's a good time to buy a house or buy whatever. And so just keep that in mind. prices are trending downwards. And though it's hard to say if we'll see an increase, but I imagine there's going to be some sort of slight increase. I wouldn't say it's much because of that more activity. It's typically what happens. And the last one here is it's still important to get pre-approved. We don't want you going through this entire process only to get to the finish line of trying to get your offer accepted, or the offer does get accepted and then you try to remove subjects that you can't. And so go talk to a mortgage lender, go talk to a bank. If you need an introduction, I'm more than happy to help you. Now, if you're thinking of selling in 2026, this is what I got to say to you. You need to price it right from the start. Time and time again, I see properties listed above what they should be listed for. They sit on the market for way too long. And in some cases, even sell less than what they would have sold for if they just would have priced it right out of the get-go. Because what you'll see and what will happen here is you price it up here, but the market's here. Now, a month goes by, the market's down here now, and now you finally want to reduce your price. And so now you're down here, but the market's still down here. And so you just end up chasing the market down. Now, right now, will prices continue to slide downwards? Hard to say, right? It's really hard to say, but if anything, it's going to be stagnant. The next thing I want to say to you is make your home stand out. Chances are, if you look down to the left and you look down to the right of your driveway, you are going to see competition. Other houses for sale that are currently active on the market. And so how do we make your home stand out? Well, I always say is you need to fix what's broken. The last thing we want you to do is have buyers come to your property and this doesn't work, that's dirty, that's broken. It makes it feel like your home isn't well taken care of. And maybe it is, but you just have a few things that are broken or not working that portray that your house hasn't been taken care of. And so we need to fix those things. But we also need to be ready for more activity, because what will happen here in the springtime, again, seasonally speaking, this is when more buyers are out. They're more out and about looking at homes. And so we need to be ready for that. And there's also going to be more competition ahead. As you've seen there, we have more active listings for this time of year for a long time. And there's going to be even more active listings hitting the market. And so how do we, be ahead of these competition? Well, it's all the things that I just talked about. And then the last one, we need to stay flexible on our terms. With less inventory selling, more inventory on the market, there's certain things that we may have to be more flexible on when we get into negotiations. And so just food for thought. Now, as promised, these real estate tools that I wanted to show you, the first one being here is Zero Conversation Home Evaluation. What's my home worth? It's a real estate tool that I've been using for quite some time. And it's really just a fun, interactive, quick way to find out what your home is worth. So scan this QR code, literally type in your address, your information. It'll give you what it thinks that your home is worth in a matter of seconds. And so what this thing does is takes the solds, takes the actives, a little bit of AI, and it gives you a price on what your home or what it thinks your home is worth. And so go check that out. Now, real quick, the second tool that I want to show you is the Homeowner Advantage. And it's an ecosystem that is built specifically for homeowners to have the upper hand or the advantage when it comes to home ownership. Tongue twister. What's inside? We have market updates, my newest YouTube videos, all things real estate related. Annual home review. If you're not getting those done, you need to. And then the home stewardship program, which shows you how to take care of your home, your townhome, your condo, whatever you own, because chances are you may not know how to, or you've never done it before. And so if that's of interest to you, scan that QR code, sign up for what you want, what you don't want. But that's going to be it for this video. And so as always, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your support. If you have any questions on any of this that I went over, please reach out to me. You have my number, and we'll talk soon.